Apple Knocker Radio.
Right. The Transfiguration of Thoth.
Yes.
Could you go through, if you recall, the process of creating that, and to whatever extent you're comfortable with, explain what the painting is about?
Yeah. Oof, that was a powerful transmission. It really was. I was living in Olympia and really deep in my alchemical practice and studies. And I knew that I wanted to paint a depiction of Thoth, or Mercurius, this figure, Hermes Trismegistus. I wanted to honor this figure that is the patron deity of Hermeticism. And I had all these sketches that I did where it's very classical, but I wanted it to center around the lake in Olympia, the Capitol Lake. And so if you see that painting, there's the lake, and you can see the Capitol building in the background, and which is based on, ancient Greek architecture. And I just, even though it's a legislative building and all of that, it symbolized something for me. So I wanted to have that in the painting. And I spent a lot of time walking around the lake and up around the Capitol grounds in Olympia and doing these sort of hermetic meditative walks and receiving inspiration and watching the clouds and the reflections in the water. And
what year was this?
This would have been 2018.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's kind of where I was and where my mind was as I was gestating the idea for this painting. And I had a big canvas that I knew I was going to do it on. And there was a lunar eclipse, a solar eclipse, sorry. And we had very good visibility in Olympia. So I was with some friends and we watched the eclipse, and I was I felt so charged and so connected to something numinous and magical. And after we watched the eclipse, I just ran to my studio and picked up the charcoal and just kind of went at it on the canvas. And this transmission came through that was completely different from what I had conceptualized in any of my sketches. It was very surprising. And to me, it seemed awkward and didn't quite understand it. But I was like, all right, this is what's coming through. So this is what I'm going to work with. And what came through first was the beak of the ibis and the head of the crocodile and sort of the positioning of the arm. And so that, to me, I was just like, wow, this is really just kind of awkward, but I'm going to go with it. And I started just, developing the painting bit by bit. And that's how it was born. But I think a lot of my paintings, they often will line up with these celestial events. And those events will correspond with the energies that I'm working with on a planetary level. So I find that fascinating. And sometimes it's intentional, but oftentimes it's not. And it'll just take me by surprise, and I find those to be the most powerful, fascinating paintings, because they feel like they're ensouled, like they have a life of their own and a purpose of their own that's beyond anything I could conceive of. So
I remember that eclipse. Well, I was in Olympia during that eclipse. I remember that.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So it's kind of cool. As you're telling the story, I was able to really put myself there and be like, wow, man, that's really neat. Like thinking of myself being there, and like Seven was out there somewhere with this stuff happening. That's really cool. What was the frog in the alligator's mouth? What's the frog?
Well, it's a black toad.
Okay.
The black toad in alchemy is a symbol for the primal matter, the prima materia, or the beginning material that we work with. And the prima materia is like the undifferentiated consciousness that precedes all of creation, where all of the elements are kind of in a state of chaos, just undifferentiated. There's no polarity. There's no differentiation between anything. And as things emerge from that, that's where we get the elements and the active and passive principles of energy, and all of that emerges from this state of undifferentiated consciousness. So the black toad is a symbol of that, and also a symbol of beginnings. And the way I see it is it's escaping, because Thoth is piercing through the scales of the crocodile and transmuting this lower sort of reptilian energy. That beginning material is able to emerge, to escape from the jaws of death and to be reborn into something else. That's a little bit of how I see it. But.
No, that's